Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here, Angelus, son of Abaddon. And today I'd like to discuss my research into the Tower of Atropy, the Tower of the Fallen, and that of the Seal of Anguish. Okay. Your overall basic, let's just call it spiritual warfare type stuff. Okay. Now, an elder put forth a document, or I should say a message put forth on the old JCI, the hermeneutics and all that other stuff from the Judeo-Christian um, aspects of faith and belief. He even brought up something that was in the Bible that discusses believing in yourself and believing in your practices. Okay. And I applied with um, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, which states, walk by faith, not by sight. And I know he loved it. So um, there was there was something about this post that really caught my attention. So I decided, what the hell? I've been following the Tower of Atropy up until now, which deals with the death current. It deals with death, the dead and undead, and death and undeath, type aspects, and packs and stuff like that, and it was kind of interesting. So we all hear the attributes of left hand path versus right hand path. But what would happen if you removed these two divisions, these subtitles, these things that limit you as individuals? Okay. And the reason I say that is because of this. As a sorcerer, I've studied and walked many paths. So faith and belief is really nothing new to me. Okay. And don't get me wrong, I've even had my own trying times, okay, over the last 30 years, to the point where I just wanted to end it, or I'd be standing in the middle of a street and just yelling out to whatever God would listen, okay? That breaking point, you know, that point in your own personal career as a sorcerer or sorceress that allows you to break and to go beyond. Now, a lot of the white light practitioners would utilize what is known as healing techniques through runes in Norse mythology, seals that would empower you and ward away negative energies. Okay, Steves, as they're referred to in the Norse pagan religion. Okay, now working with deities, necromancers normally use deities and lords and ladies of death, okay, like Anubis or hell for that matter. Hecate or Erishkigal, okay, Hades, or say for example, yeah, let's go with Bastet or Supe. Okay, these are just some of the deities that deal with death. So, I mean, if you want to get into things like angelology, I mean, you have Azrael, the angel of death. You have Abaddon, the destroying angel, the angel of the bottomless pit, according to Christianity. Okay, the JCI Bible. All right, Book of Revelations. Now, he's known as the one that he's the key holder. Okay, So it's no really big surprise that so many occultists today have started working with Abaddon. Okay. E.A. Koetting, for one. Okay. Love his work. I do. Hell, I've got like 10, if not 11 tomes by him alone. I think one book has like 9, and then you have the Book of Necromancy by Dante Abiel and book 4 of the Grimoire of Abaddon. Okay. Love his work, and I'm loving what I'm reading. Okay. But doing things on death is one thing. But what about this spiritual warfare? What about the Tower of the Fallen? Tower of, say, for example, Secrets. Okay. Now, when I read this post by my elder, okay, the first thing that came to mind when he was talking about record keeping is isn't that the Tower of Secrets job to do, to record everything, much like Lucifer's Raphael, okay, the scribe and ancient pact maker and demonolatry. Okay. But the more I got my attention, I started delving into the Tower of the Fallen. And it's completely different from the Tower of Secrets, because the Tower of Secrets allows you to tap into all other towers. But here's the kicker. All other towers but the Tower of Atropi. You still got to do this one. Okay? So it caught my attention. So what is it about the Tower of the Fallen that deals with faith? What is it that deals about it that deals with protections? Okay. So I went into my books, all the books put forth by Sumnus Dreadwood, the former AGM. Okay. And I went into the Bible, I pulled up these scriptures, and I started going through all the PDFs you know, and just contemplating on this and just contemplating and digging into the Gnosis since yesterday. And I've discovered that there are 6 things within the classification of the Tower of the Fallen. Okay. Now, this actually caught my attention because of the fact that you're dealing with reversals, you're dealing with healing, you're dealing with old time belief. Okay. Things that would allow the spirit to grow, things that would allow it to prosper, the whole balance and harmony aspect. So this got me thinking about Sumnus Dreadwood. Okay. What 3 videos in particular based off spiritual warfare. Okay. The seal of Anguish, for an example. This was one of the seals that he recommended in this aspect because of the fact that it blocks the unwanted attention, I guess you could say, of the celestials, angelics. They can't even look at it without being put into some form of anguish, agony even. And this led me into the other ones, like the seal of adjuration, the seal of cloaking, the seal of reversal, and the seal of protection. And all of this really applies to the Tower of the Fallen because it is about balance. It is about the harmony of your soul, your spirit, and what allows you to prosper in this mannerism. Okay. Now, I found it very, very enlightening because of the fact that I started thinking about the witch's creed, the witch's oath, the witch's pyramid, which is basically these 3 things are the same exact thing, just different depictions of what it is. And then I started thinking about the pillars within the Quran. It was ironic that my elder ended up bringing in the JCI aspects, things that deal with, like, say, Islamic. Now, I found it interesting because throughout history and mythology, we see where the church has limited, and it normally starts with a power that was already in place. For an example, in the Roman Empire around 550, I want to say BCE, or before Christ era, or BC, or BE, whatever you want to call it. I can never get those eras straight. But my point is this: it was one of the last Roman emperors that not only rejuvenated the church, but gave them full authority to start placing limitations. And the very first limitation that the church actually put out was the limitation of idol worship, which is ironically a part of the Ten Commandments today. Okay. Now, this actually led me into other areas, such as Islamic. Okay. The five pillars of sorcery. Okay. The five pillars of mastery. This could also be associated with the witches. Oh, the witches' creed, the mastery of the five elements. But what I found most intriguing is the gods, such as Odin, his journey within the scrolls in Norse mythology, that of Freya, even hell. Not, I'm not referring to he double hockey sticks hell, such as that of the biblical. No, I'm talking about the goddess of hell. Okay, Hel. All right, in Norse mythology. And this morning I was listening to a sorcerer on necromancy, and he got me thinking about the gods and goddesses of death and how they play into this aspect of healing, that of working with the dead, communing with the dead, okay, and how the sorcery really got going. So, as I sat there on the couch this morning, going over, the Tower of Atropy, going down over the lords and ladies of the Tower of the Fallen, not just what the tower itself represents. Six things, by the way. Six. Just like, you got it, everything else I just named off. Okay. 5 to 6 things. Okay. Very, very fascinating. So here it is. When we think of sorcery of any kind, it allows the individual to prosper naturally. More so, it allows you to align yourself with individuals, spirits, and to become masters of your own domain within sorcery. Okay. Tools that are you're mastering allows you to grow within a state of evolution. Okay. And I'm going to use this term evolution because it you'll see in a minute why I used it. When we go to church, okay, anyone who's ever gone to church knows that they'll sit there and say, if you're not of God, then you're of the devil. Okay. You look at certain herbs and plants that they use, like virgin olive oil, okay, represents the oil of healing. Okay. Prayer is something that is heavily influenced within the individual. I can tell you from personal experience that I've called out to gods before. I've called out to demons and asked for their help because I was in such agony. And to see how the prayers really come into play and boosters your energy. It boosts your natural currents within yourself, not just outside you. Okay. When we look at herbs such as frankincense, dragon's blood, and myrrh, Okay. You can create a bubble of protection just with that alone. But you still have to cleanse yourself, cleanse your home, such as with the utilization of, say, crystals or that of salt, sea salt, which is the most purest substance on earth, but also water. Why is it that the Catholics, specifically that of exorcists, like to use and put pronunciations on the term holy water? Okay. What is unholy water, for that example, for the other side? We go all the way back to the Dead Sea Scrolls and we're seeing the same alignment, the same duality. But here's the specifically in the scroll of Amram, okay, Amram, and it's very fascinating to see certain elements that are brought into play within healing and protection. Runes can be used for protection, but also healing. I actually got lucky and found I was at a mom and pop store a few years back, about almost 10 years ago, when I came to Maine from Texas. And I found it very interesting because of the fact that I entered into this little mom and pop store. It was like an antique place, and of course, I was instantly noticing all the books, scattered around. So I purposely made it, to each and every single one of these stations where there's books, and I ended up finding this one book on Norse runes. Norse runes. It was just this little green book with this little gold edgings. Okay. And I started going down through it. And up until this point, I never considered utilizing runes for healing. I know that you can use your empathy, you know, empathy type of seership, okay, mediumship, to focus your chi, your ki, your ka, your soul, your spirit, to heal somebody. I know that you can change the currents around you. I've used techniques to heal people in the past. I used it twice on one individual. First time was with her knee. She has not had an issue with that knee since. She used to get extreme migraines to the point where it literally was crippling. They crippled her. And the thing that was ironic, she still gets headaches, but not to that degree. Okay. So I have used psychic abilities for healing, just like I've used runes for protection, seals and sigils for wardings and protections, but to see how they can also play into healing and harmony and balance, that is something that is very unique. And this is why the seal of anguish literally wards off anything of the celestial that wants to limit you as a person. Not just the energies of the currents, but also dealing with deities, beings, anything of the angelic or celestial nature. It prohibits them from looking. So you'd want to put this either on yourself. And this is something that Miss Dredwood recommended, was to either put it like a tattoo on your skin, put it in your wallet, or draw it in your book of shadows, so that unwanted eyes cannot, of the celestial nature, cannot peer into it. That was something that was pretty cool to see what level of anguish can be bestowed on them. It's almost like torture, perhaps lead for like Superman, or just to name one, or perhaps it's something that prohibits somebody from moving through it, like coal or charcoal. Okay. But then you have runes, seals that can be employed for cloaking your activity and your movements. You have protection seals and runes that will protect you from negative energies. And then you have what is known as the seal of abjuration. Okay, I'd never even heard of this until I started delving into the Mazajira Cabal system, and I found this in the book Profane Seals. Okay, and I read down through it and I started studying it. And basically, what this does is it cancels out all negative influences in your life. When you put it up on your walls or you carry it on yourself, whatever negative energies or currents that are around you will just fade away. It'll just disappear. It cancels them out. And then you have the seals of reversals. So anybody who's casting spells against you, okay, say curses, hexes, perhaps even jinxes, okay, for that matter. The seal of reversal is like one of those little trump cards that will say, aha, guess what? It's deflected and it's now back on you. Okay. That's something that's very, very interesting. And I do have this up. Okay. And what's ironic is since I put these up about 6 months ago, I've had people come to me and ask me, are you cursing so and so? And it's like, no. The only way something, from what I understand, whoever attacks you, that seal of reversal is up, it's charged, it's activated, which means it's deflecting it right back at that individual that is trying to attack you. The only way that it would be like a curse upon yourself is if you're attacking a person with one of these things up, okay, or upon them. And then you have what is known as the seal of protection, okay. Okay, so yeah, so all these seals and all these runes really do play a part in your own personal practices. And yes, there that was actually a lot to think about there too. So I mean, you can see how much thought and research I put into them just by what I just did alone here. But my point is this: to see the Tower of the Fallen and why it was recommended, the balance, the harmony, the healing from these toxic wounds, the toxic energies around you, more so the attacks that are being placed upon you. These seals, these wardings, help protect you, just as a quartz crystal that is charged to for protection can become a great tool for your arsenal. But also something else that I thought was kind of cool too is that Sunnis Dreadwood even suggested a few devil straps, I guess you can call them. I would refer to them as devil straps because of the fact, or trump cards, basically because of this factor. Having seals of cloak, seals to cloak your activity, to protect you, to repel and reverse things, to cancel out negative energies, and to protect you from celestial limitations. Things that people that are beings that are being sent to you or trying to interfere, such as the JCI and angels of the church. Okay, saints, God, their God, be it Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, whatever. These things here really prevent them from peering in, so it's a good thing. But the way he put it was having a few trump cards. I don't know if any of you have ever played Yu-Gi-Oh with your nephew or your son or daughter, but my nephew used to be heavily influenced and heavily into Yu-Gi-Oh. So we always had decks lying around, and anytime you wanted to play, I would play. Okay, with it, I would play this game with him, and it's a card game. So I mean, it was pretty cool. And what it had was you had a handful of cards that you could lay down, and you had cards laid down, face down, that were considered trump cards. Okay, they were considered traps. Consider these type of things for your career as a sorcerer or sorceress, because somebody could be attacking you, trying to defame you, trying to commit defamation of character. Okay, just to name a couple things. They could even be trying to curse you. But here's, and one of these cards, you could easily flip up and go, guess what? It's now deflected back your way. Or guess what? It's going back times three to you. Okay. But you could also put these things within a grimoire or a journal. Record keeping allows you to hold on to the knowledge within your black book, your grimoire, or your journal. Something that you can grab if you're in a hurry and just disappear into the night. Okay. Now, the knowledge that you're keeping through lucid dreaming or perhaps winomancy, automatic writing, or say, for an example, communing through conjuration, invocation, or evocation with corpses. This all the information that you're gathering from all these other realms, these other dimensions, even can be utilized in this fashion. Okay, you are arming yourself with magics not of this realm to defend yourself against those who would limit you, who would seek to destroy you. Okay, not just the celestials, not just the church. I'm talking all forms of your life. You know, it's said that the one that can hurt you the most is your own flesh and blood, your own family. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be blood. Those you consider brothers or friends, allies, people that you've let into your gang or your coven, for that matter, your institution, who get to know you personally, your strengths and your weaknesses. Well, guess what? They can hurt you the most. Something like these, like I've named off here, through my own study, my own research, since I've heard about them, since I've delved into the research and the mythos behind these lords and ladies of these towers, it is spectacular. And all I got to say is that it is up to you as the individual to either learn and evolve, or learn or live in servitude on your knees as a slave and die a slow, painful death. Magic is there. It's very real. Having faith in these deities, having faith in yourself plays a huge part. Not just record keeping, not just understanding how to perform offensive and defensive magics. And that's the point here, by the way. There's so much that you can learn, so much that you can utilize and deploy into your services. All right. Hope this has been intellectual. Hope it's been educational. And until next time, have a good night, or afternoon, day, morning, wherever you are in the world. All right. Have a good one. I'm going for coffee.